Welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Fazz.
And I'm Rich.
How was your fireworks evening last week, Rich? Because of your cat.
Oh, yeah.
Sunset. How did that go? On the back, so just for everyone's context. Hello, everybody. For the for context, the fireworks display from my kid's school is literally on the back of Rich's house. And it was like fucking downtown Baghdad in 2001. It was going off. It was crazy. So, was everything okay? Did you manage to? Correct. Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
No, she came and watched it with us.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, shit. Right. Okay. Because there's so many people. And I'm not being critical of pet owners here at all. That is in. So when I'm like, there's so many people saying this, but there's so many posts you see on social media for like community groups. People kind of going, my dog's gonna eat people with all these. So I totally get that. But it sounds like Sunset just.
Yeah, we just kept her in.
Oh. Right. just kept doing it and she was absolutely
and she was fine.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
good display though then.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, good, yeah. Cool, good. Fair enough.
Next question.
Fireworks was what I was building towards a fucking segue. Anyway,
it was
fireworks.
A bit.
Well, it wasn't a bit. It was a genuine. It was a bit of a bit. I was genuinely concerned about your cat's well-being. But then there was also a worked-in segue.
Right.
I was thinking about fireworks and games that look like fireworks, and I saw that somebody that I follow on our behalf on Instagram, James Gaming Life, who's came to the Retro Gaming Night Horse of Brewery before, and a nice guy, so genuine person that I've met in real life, and he kind of put Fantavision in front of some fireworks and stuff, and nice sort of Instagram-y kind of displays, and I remarked how we gave that a 1 out of 10. Well, I think Maybe I think it was a free play fortnightly technically.
All right, fine. Yeah. All right. In that case, yes, I am culpable. Fine.
I'm gonna find that evidence anyway. But yeah, we are culpable. And yeah, it was just interesting to see. And I was like, what other games kind of have fireworks in them? And I don't think I know many of, but these games feel firework adjacent that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
I less so that I know what it looks like for your game, but certainly the games with a question mark at the end of it, I'm going to put that I've played, which is TXK on the PlayStation Vita, which is an actual weirdly legally binding Vita exclusive
Tempest adjacent interactive experience.
Yes, / Tempest 4000. So Jeff Minter shooters that all look very sparkly and shiny.
Minter fresh.
Yes. And you have been playing?
Polybius.
Polybius?
Polybius?
I was trying to...
Polybius.
Thank you for doing that, because I was...
I've been calling it Polybius.
Polybius.
Polybius. Right. Now I've got that out of my system.
I really enjoyed that.
Really?
Yeah, fair enough. You know me well enough.
Must have been a long day.
I enjoy lots of just inane shit.
Oh, good.
Was that so? Polybius. Oh god, this is gonna go.
Yeah, I know. I can't turn it off. Sorry.
That game. It's my understanding is that it's kind of got a couple of connotations, that something to do with an old mystery game. I'm going to leave that there because I assume you'll maybe touch on that. And also, is it like an old god of some kind, or is it like a Roman god, a name of, or okay, cool. Yeah, fair enough. I believe it is.
I have done the bare minimum research for this.
Well, the only reason I know that is because I tried to do a little bit of research, obviously, for the blurb, and that's what came up. So it was almost like these games and Jeff Minter's back catalogue outside of the Llamasoft story, which you gave 9 out of 10 last year, probably about 15 months ago, and rightly so. It can be quite difficult to hunt down as if you just Google search them. Gemini struggled a little bit, trying to find certain things. TXK, for example, is if you try to shop for TXK, which makes me think, again, this is terrible research, maybe it was only a digital only download. I
think it was.
Yeah. You cannot get a physical copy of TXK. Whereas Tempest 4000, its spiritual successor, is again digital only, I believe. Maybe maybe it's in a case for it, but certainly much more viable as an option to find nowadays. So yeah, it's just interesting to see that. Just touching on the Jeff Mint and Llamasoft story again, and just trying to plug your mind, see how well it goes back 15 months.
Yeah, right.
General feelings on that. Obviously, gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yep.
It almost won a 9 out of 10 game of the year last year. I think there was conversations about that last December. What do you remember loving about it so much that it made you feel that way?
There was I think compared to Atari 50 at least, which I guess was the only other like Digital Eclipse kind of documentary type thing that I'd played prior to that. It felt a lot more personal, and how you were kind of getting this insight into how the guy was putting some of this stuff together, and like even just like reading through some of the old newsletters and stuff like that he would write, but also the fact that he would go out of his way to write them in the first place, and all that I thought was quite interesting and quite telling. There, obviously, he's one of those names that pops up a lot if you're reading things like Retro Gamer and things like that. And he is that kind of, he has a distinctive style, a distinctive aesthetic. And I think for me, one of the big things was, you could look at his catalogue and the way that it was presented in that game in particular, and go, actually, like, I've always said about video games as art. Oh, here's someone who I think you could realistically point at and go, this is an auteur. What, Kojima, maybe? Like Hideo Kojima could possibly be in the same conversation. Yeah. And it was kind of nice to know that somebody that was developing games a stone's throw from where I grew up could be in that kind of bracket.
I was going to ask if you knew where he was from.
Yeah, like down my old neck of the woods. And so it was kind of cool to see all that come together. And I would be lying if I said that I liked all of the games that were on there. And I've gone back to a couple since, and they're particularly difficult to play or kind of pass what's going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they are distinctive. Like, there's no denying that. To the extent that there's a Llamasoft collection coming out on Evercade soon at time of recording.
I ran into that in my Google searches, and I was a bit like, oh, that's it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I was like, that can't have, the Digital Eclipse version can't have got on there. I didn't click on it, but I was a bit like, oh, something must be happening.
Yeah, there's some of the ones from the Digital Eclipse collection that I preferred to play as games are on this collection. Okay. So I could imagine that I'm going to get to the stage that I'm going to play the Evercade collection more than the Digital Eclipse one. But the Digital Eclipse one I would wholeheartedly recommend to anybody that is kind of curious about what went into making some of those games in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about the Atari 50, I've only just started getting into that now. Like I've been meaning to for a while, but obviously podcast and life and things. And I was like, I will probably start doing that. And I thought, actually, I'll touch briefly on Tempest and Tempest 2000 as a bit of back sort of knowledge, because it didn't feel like I would have to go too far into the games to sort of see the through thread to Tempest 4000 TXK, for example. But yeah, thinking about what I've seen so far of Atari 50, even though it's less of a personal story than the Llamasoft one, it definitely feels like they probably, and I spoke about this when you did Worms Armageddon, I said, I'm going to pick up the Worms Armageddon Digital Eclipse version. And even though there are videos on there that are interesting, Atari 50 feels like their baby, in so much that, or something like Llamasoft, where they've just gone so deep and they're bringing out another DLC, we think. I was texting you and we were like,
I think it's coming out in a few days.
Oh, right, okay. Like a third one then, and that's like Pac-Man and, is it Bandai Namco maybe?
Like old Namco stuff.
So I've only really just scratched the surface on the main game, and then I've got 2 DLCs still to go to, and I'll probably get the third one as well. And it's just nice to kind of like, even just to have on the Switch, like I was watching American football and watching at the same time, kind of like in between plays and stuff, the Atari 50 documentary bits and things, and then having a little play on the games and stuff. So just a lovely thing to have around. So yeah.
Although I picked up the Mortal Kombat one recently. And that's,
I was going to ask about this. So I kind of intimated that Digital Eclipse to you over text. I was like, oh yeah, have they had a blip with something recently? And you were like, oh yeah. Yeah. Should we do in the blurb of the podcast? I've said we're going to discuss that at the end, but it feels now that we should discuss that now. So it doesn't actually fucking matter. So
So the Mortal Kombat one has a lot of the same documentary stuff. It's clearly not quite the same focus as it was in like Atari 50. Atari 50, the documentary stuff is front and center.
Yeah.
And you have to go through the menus to get to the games. The Mortal Kombat one, you go to the games and the documentary stuff is kind of hidden away.
Okay.
So in that respect, the way they've laid out the menus and stuff is reminiscent of Mortal Kombat games, where the documentary stuff is in like the crypt with the unlockable stuff. So that's kind of cool. The problem they have run into is that fighting game fans are a hardcore bunch. And if the emulation of said fighting games is not up to snuff, you are going to hear about it. And Digital Eclipse fucked around and found out, basically. And so they've had to scurry to put all this stuff back in. Now, I mean, I guess No,
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. And sure, let's go with questions here. So you picked it up yourself then?
Yeah.
How much did it cost?
40 quid, I think, on Steam.
£40.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
But,
because that seems a lot more expensive than... Is that just, I guess, paying for the license maybe then? Because
well, partly, but it's also new.
Yeah,
like Atari 50 is a good couple of years old, few years old now.
Okay, I thought that was like... the Llamasoft one, I thought that released at like £30 is what I remember. And that
quite
was like,
possibly, but you got to admit, it's more niche.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Like, Mortal Kombat is a flipping juggernaut despite its foibles.
Okay.
And this is a collection of games that they haven't put a Mortal Kombat collection out like this before. I think if they tried to do the equivalent Street Fighter thing, it would be a bit of a harder sell because Capcom have been so good at repackaging and putting out.
You can get it any time.
Yeah, like any generation, you are able to find old Capcom games within reason, I guess.
They did. Didn't Digital Eclipse do a Street Fighter one, didn't they? The anniversary edition.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't a documentary one.
Yeah.
But it had
something.
Yeah, it had some like production materials in it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the documentary ones.
Yeah.
Which is, in fact, speaks to the point quite nicely that if they tried to do the documentary version, you'd be looking at it going, well, sorry, what is new here besides the videos?
Yeah.
Whereas something like Mortal Kombat, you know, they haven't had, as far as I'm aware, not had a collection of older games since like the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and even then that was like 3 arcade games, and that was it. There's not been like a compendium of Mortal Kombat games. So I think the community was primed and ready to be all over it like a rash.
Yeah.
And then it fumbled. and I think the documentary stuff is engaging and interesting, but if the games themselves aren't going to play right and the community that they are catering for have been waiting for it, are ready for it, want it, but want it to work pretty flipping well, and it doesn't, then I think that's where they shot themselves in the foot a little bit.
How many games are on there?
Good question.
Not
anywhere near as many as Llamasoft and Atari 50, I would imagine. But certainly there are a few on there that, like, I don't know, like the Game Gear version of Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Things that I would never go out of my way to go and play, like even emulated, let alone go and buy a Game Gear and buy a copy of Mortal Kombat. So in that respect, it's kind of cool.
I guess I was asking to sort of understand what's the most modern game that's on there.
So they have Mortal Kombat 4, I think the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 4, which, I don't know, home port would have been on N64 kind of era.
Yeah.
There's a couple of PS1 games on there. Again, though, that's the thing that they've got. In fact, they've got a couple of Game Boy Advance games on there, which might be a little bit more recent. But there were plenty of people saying, "Oh, but can we get like PS2 era games on here?" And apparently they're quite difficult to get running and all that kind of stuff. So I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but they clearly drew a line around the kind of PS1 N64 era. Fingers crossed they could put something else in a little bit later.
I was going to ask for the PSP one, really. That's what I was kind of trying to think about. There's something like that.
There's like, nothing like that.
Yeah. And also thinking about drawing it back to these games that with the Jeff Minter ones. So the games we've played here aren't on the Jeff Minter Llamasoft one, and it was almost a bit of a clamouring on our behalf to play some more Jeff Minter, and it's like, well, let's play the ones that aren't on there. You know what I mean? And so, so shall I kick off with the TXK then, the PlayStation Vita centric one, the I guess most chronological oldest one. So 2014. Interesting to see that I couldn't find out why it was necessary that he picked the PS Vita as, I guess, a launching pad for what would be effectively his next Tempest game. It very much, like I alluded to previously, ended up staying on the Vita as TXK because Atari were not happy at how close it was to Tempest 2000. When I went back to look on Atari 50 and look at Tempest 2000 versus TXK, I see it. It's very much pretty much the same game, but at the same time that there's definitely different flair to it and more excitement, I would say. I was really pleasantly pleased. Surprised, I'm pleased. Pleased.
Wow.
I'm trying to
you
save time
here first, internet.
You can't AI this sheet. Sheet.
Flipping heck. Get it together, man.
No, I refuse to. Really presently surprised. I'll start that again.
Presently pleased.
Yes, thank you very much. Right. Anyway, I liked it. I liked the game.
Good.
Does it feel odd that you would take this step with what is quite a difficult game, I guess, not to see, but there's a lot going on when you get to higher levels on TXK/Tempest 4000. And then the reason I say /Tempest 4000 is because after Polybius it was successful, it seemed as though Atari were quite happy, and Minter also quite happy to come back after some legal wranglings of Atari saying, you can't. Basically, well, they didn't go to court. Apparently, I think they just bent Sony's ear and they were like, "Do not publish this on PS4." And they were like, "Okay, fair enough." And then which is weird because they've had this long working relationship, and then they didn't have any. It's nice to see that there wasn't a massive acrimonious split like Kojima that you mentioned before, and the Konami. It was almost like, yeah, I'm a bit ticked off that I didn't actually get to show the game off as I wanted to, but now we're going to bring Tempest 4000 out after Polybius. And I will say that if you want to play TXK, it's really hard to do because there's no no physical copies. Just play Tempest 4000. It's the same game. It's literally the exact same game. There is so little difference between those two games. Like, it's pretty much the same game. And I feel like it was almost Atari just kind of going, just don't call it TXK and we'll be all cool. It's absolutely fine. I think my understanding is as well that Tempest 4000 should have had some VR, like a TXK VR version to it.
Oh, right.
And they requested that was removed and it just became Tempest 4000 for home console. So it's just like, it's a weird relationship they've got over these games, considering how freaking good they are. So if you are not aware of what Tempest is as a game, so it is I think it's I haven't got this written down. Let's just try and remember if I've done my research. 1982 game by someone called Dave Chirura, maybe. I think that's his name.
Do you want me to Wikipedia?
No, not at all. No? It's fine. No,
sure?
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Not curious because I want to say 81.
Okay, cool. Go for it. See, yeah, find out. Why not go? Yeah, why not? But it's a tube shooter, and basically there is a wireframe that traditionally goes into the screen, and you hang around the top end of the top plane of this wireframe, and enemies, whatever they may be, kind of come towards you, and they're all just these weird sort of freaky shapes, like flowers and sort of, I don't know what to call them, like just
bows.
Yeah, bows. Thank you very much. That's perfect. Yeah,
1981.
Well done, you. I'm just curious to find out how right I am. Yeah, fair enough. That's fine. And then,
funnily enough, it does tie back to something that I'm going to talk about later,
I see. So okay, fair enough.
And then, how come I had that one tucked away?
I see. And then Tempest 2000 is when Jeff Minter kind of effectively took the series under his wing and started to develop it. He did it for the Atari Jaguar, and then he's got a version of Tempest 3000. I can't remember what that's out for. And then all the way later in 2014. So, we're talking obviously on an anniversary of Tempest 2000 TXK. So you are this claw at the head. I think it's a claw, like a weird sort of yellow crane looking freaky thing on top of this plane. And you don't necessarily find yourself emotionally attached to this wireframe spectacle that's going on. It's a bit like sort of, when you first look at it, it's a bit sterile. You're a bit like, what am I actually playing? And then you really get into it, and it's brilliant. Like, it's so good. I can't believe how well this plays on the PS Vita. Like, I think that the type of shooter that it is, the fact that you sit on the top of the plane and things come out of the screen towards you, rather than you doing a lot of the movement, and you're kind of restricted to certain movements around that frame, that really lends itself well to the Vita. I know there are some really good shmups on there, as you've previously described on the podcast, such as Darius G and the other ones that you've said a long time ago.
Darius Burst.
Darius Burst, thank you. Yeah. What was it? What was Is it Luft? How's it? We've not done that one, have we? Luftrausers. Is that a shmup?
Yeah.
Muramasa Rebirth. That's a fighting game, isn't it? Yeah. This podcast, like, we've been doing it far too long.
I'm trying to remember what good shmups there are on it, because Darius Burst is the one.
Okay, well there we go then. Well, there's one at least.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? Cinemora? Cinemora?
I love that we're struggling to remember if we've what have we done again?
Gundamoniums is fun.
Yeah, Gundamoniums. Yeah, you said that before as well. So we've got some shmups on there, and this isn't a traditional, I guess, shmup. And the only genre it can be described as is a tube shooter. I don't know many other games that fit into that genre apart from these games. But yeah, it's good. So you move around this plane and enemies are coming towards you, and you just basically have to dodge the enemies as they're coming towards you pretty much. And then eventually it becomes the enemies almost shoot, in some circumstances, like almost stalks up towards you, and you've kind of got to avoid those as well.
Yeah, like in my head, like it almost played like a kind of almost like an on rails shooter.
Yeah.
Just you're not actually moving.
Yes.
They're moving towards you rather than you moving towards them.
Yeah. So it almost felt it feels most spiritual, like, for me personally, like Res, but Res has got a lot more open movement in it.
Yeah.
But you still kind of like feel like rather than you moving and going down a tunnel, the tunnel's coming at you. But so yeah, it looks, for all that description of a geometric sort of wireframe tubes and things, it just looks and feels amazing.
It's definitely distinct.
Yes, yeah, very much so. And how very little has been updated, so much so that Atari were fucked off about it, from 1994 to 2014, but still making it sing on the Vita. It's impressive. I guess the crux of the game is that you do all this movement and you can shoot back at these enemies, obviously, to destroy them. And effectively, it's all about survival, really. And you go levels, and you obviously try and get a high score as well and survive as long as you possibly can. The good thing about what Minter has done to Tempest is that he's added his own little twists in there, a bit of psychedelia, a really great soundtrack, and these little sort of power-ups that are traditional to shooting games, but also they seem very unique, these ones specifically to Tempest, and I guess TXK as well. So you get, for example, you as you kill certain enemies, you get power-ups, so you can get extra lives, which are obviously very useful. But the things that are different, like you get an AI droid, for example, that comes out to help you. Fucking love that little guy. Like, he helps you out so much. And if an enemy comes to the top of your plane, you are very restricted quite quickly, because they are on your level. They are coming to hunt you down, these weird little bow shapes that are like, running along like sort of crab dogs, like, to come and get you. Pretty terrifying. And you can, the AI droid, once you've earned it from good gameplay, like, he'll help you out. And sometimes it might even be that you get captured by an enemy, and if the AI droid's close enough, he'll actually kill the enemy for you that's kind of clambered onto your little claw back. And that's useful, obviously. And you start to build a bond with this AI droid that you've earned in the level. You earn a jump sometimes as well. So this might be one of the things that kind of protects you against, again, if lots of enemies get to the top of your level, if you've not done a good enough job of knocking them off, shooting them off. And then you can jump for a little while. You can't score while you're up in the air, but oh my god, it becomes so integral to staying alive to just constantly get to the point where you're just jumping up and down to be like, I just don't want to die at this point. Like, I want to get to the end of the level. I need to protect my life. You get one, I think it's called a super trapper, which is kind of like a traditional bomb in a shmup. You earn that as well. And that's very useful when you just get, things just get too hot. Like, there's just too many things, you can't jump anymore, and you just want to clear the decks. You get a super trapper, and you can earn one of those per level effectively. So it's almost like your get out of jail free card. Really useful. There's just lots of little. I don't want to call them gimmicks. Not gimmicks, but like the power ups are just much more. I don't know that just personal. Like, is into sort of this game almost in a way that is it just. It feels like it's not just a bomb that you blow up and just get rid of. They call it a super trapper and stuff, and it's just almost like like you said about Minter, you just sort of see him just putting little things in there.
The Minterisms.
Yeah, just sort of like, and he just doesn't give a shit what it's called another game or how it acts in another game. It's the same concept, but he just kind of calls it something different and puts a little twist on it. Like, having the AI droid is just like having an options in a shmup, except it's not. It's just like, it's like having a little pet dog who's shooting for you. So yeah, it is really, really fun. The best part of this game is, and this is why it's so accessible, and what I love about it is the fact that you do get almost like a survival mode where you get, I think it's 9 lives, I think it is, to go as far as you possibly can. You get a classic mode where you get 3 lives to go as many levels as you possibly can. And then you get, it's pure mode, sorry. Classic mode is where you earn, as you go up the levels, and you effectively, survive as long as you possibly can. In classic mode, it allows you to save the game at the best point possible to you. So it'll tell you, for example, if you get to level 20 with 4 lives in tow, and you've got your high score, but then so all of a sudden level 20 is too hard for you, it won't send you all the way back to 0. It'll send you back to the start of level 20. So it almost just records your best score and says, don't worry about it, have another go. So you can always go back and choose where you feel like there was the best position for you in that game. So it might not be the start of level 20. It might be like, I need to go back to level 16 and with my 3 lives here and level back up from there. So it just makes it that there's just tangible progress there. I feel like sometimes with shooters, for example, that progress isn't always tangible. It's sometimes internalized. And you kind of like, you're progressing, when the next corner is getting turned, when you come, and you think, I'm going to get there on this next boss or whatever. Whereas here it's like, no, that is in you have a progress marker. You can go there, you can put it down, put your PS Vita down, get off the bus, as we always do, and you can come back to it. And that, not saying it's vital to the success of the game, but it's really, really great that it's there as an option. And you can kind of pick and choose between what you're feeling that day. You might feel like you want to go for the whole pure, I'm going to just try and go 3 lives and get my highest score, or you kind of just want to chunk it off. Yeah, it works really, really well. Have you played any of the Tempest? I guess then obviously with the playing Atari 50.
And I've got TXK floating around on a Vita somewhere.
Oh, right, okay.
But funnily enough, because spoiler alert, Polybius has pure mode, classic mode, and a third mode as well, which we'll come to. But I found with classic mode, like occasionally, it would be saving me up to a point that was quite intense, and then I'd go back to it, and I kind of wasn't ready for it. I didn't I wasn't warmed up. Did you ever find that at all?
I guess that's what I was trying to say when I was saying maybe you could jump back a couple of levels to sort of get your foot in again. It's almost like putting your foot on the accelerator, isn't it? Like, just trying to
sort of get into a groove a little bit and get your eye in. And because I found that coming into some of the levels that I got up to, cold, really difficult.
Yeah, I think that grand reveal. In December we're going to be doing quite a few shmups, and together over a 2-week period, and certainly I've been starting to play those games for review, and there are a couple of games that have this mechanic. Not many though. And yeah, trying to almost build back in cold is really difficult to do. I didn't necessarily experience that with TXK. I felt like it was really well leveled, and I think that because you kind of seem to start the level in the exact same position, you're always on the plane of a different type of shape. You just might not be on like a circle shape. You might be on a W shape. It just feels like, yeah, the enemy's coming at you a bit quicker and in a different sort of, fashion. But I feel like every level you can kind of treat as separate. It's just, it might be a bit more difficult, but so you might need a little bit of an eye in. But actually, I think that, say you were playing one day beforehand and then came back to it a day later, I think that would be okay. Whereas I can totally see where, in different types of shooters, you couldn't do that. You almost need to be constantly on it and in the cycle of it. The only issue it kind of had with this really, only biggest issue was probably to do with what the fuck's going on the screen sometimes. Like, there was just so much. That is in when it does start to get to those high levels. It's not so much the difficulty's getting harder. I don't think there's just so much going on, and because you have that, you've got that psychedelia sort of, and this banging soundtrack just constantly going on in the background. Like even in the menus, it's just going on. It just does not stop, and it's great music, but it just does not stop. And it's just like it is like a trance, and just everything coming at you, and your screen is going back to that fireworks at the start. It's just exploding sometimes, and you and your little AI droid, and you're just jumping up and down. You're like, just fuck off me, and just like and just what killed me? What killed me right at the end there? One of my precious lives. I got to like 99% of the way through the level, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, something killed me, and I don't know if it was the tube that was disintegrating towards the end of the level, and I didn't get across to the right part of the plane, because that sometimes happens. I'm a bit like, what just tried to, what got me? Like, and it felt like I couldn't necessarily, when that was happening, learn well enough to, and that kind of didn't annoy me necessarily, but it certainly was something I thought that, I don't know if that's just because, well, I do know that. I don't know if it's just because it's on the Vita on a home console. Well, I do know that because it happens also in Tempest 4000 on a big screen as well. You still get the same thing happening. So it does feel like, I don't want to call it a difficulty spike necessarily, but there is almost like a ceiling of, this is as much as the game can give you as a challenge, and it's just spaffing on the screen, lots of colours and stuff, and it's like, so yeah, I don't know whether are you going to say something now? Or are you going to
say something in a bit.
Okay.
This is very, very useful for you saying this, because I have a theory about that.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
I will come to.
Interesting. So yeah, I felt like I was playing a very well designed, clever game that it's a real shame that it's not on storefronts because there isn't one on Vita anymore. So it's difficult to get hold of to play this game now through non-nefarious means. And I think that it's definitely something that I'm glad that it exists in Tempest 4000 now, and somebody somewhere has realised actually at some point along the line, actually this Jeff Minter game is the best version of Tempest that we've ever had. Let's release it.
Put the right label on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there, exactly. Just make sure the licensing's okay and we're good to go. It would have, I am confused why, I guess probably costs and things. If this had been in VR, it would have been sensational. And I'm really disappointed that you don't. I mean, I can just see it already where you feel like you almost like, if anybody's played the arcade version of the old Star Wars arcade game, like the wireframe one, and you kind of go in the Kessel Run, but imagine that turned up to like 6,000 and just shit going off everywhere, and just like a banging soundtrack in your ears while dum 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 dum. I just think it'd be so cool, and it reminds me of what the feeling was when that had that final level of res that had him a VR headset, where it was just like this amazing surrounding feeling where you're just totally immersed. So I imagine that would happen with this game if it was in VR, and I'm hoping it might happen at some point. Maybe Minter might go back to it and sort of think, I want it to happen, I can make it happen. It just has a few things that, and I'll be interested to hear what you say about the. I guess I'd like a little bit clearer understanding of enemy movement when you get lots of enemies on the screen all at once. It felt like very easy to learn as well. There's not many buttons to it. On my notes, I've got Pac-Man on crack. Crackman. Like, is in almost like that simple, accessible, easy to learn, almost the puzzle part of it. And it's like, but then, you know, when the ghosts are coming at you and they're going 1,000 miles an hour and things, and just shit starts happening. Like, it just feels like that. So, yeah, I would say it's an essential experience on the PS Vita. I really would. That is it's definitely one of the best games I've played on it. Just needs a bit more polish. So yeah, definitely get Tempest 4,000, 2,000 as well. 4,000 if you haven't. It comes up in the sale all the time for like probably like £4, I think, on PlayStation Network and stuff. And in fact, my version is an Xbox, so I got it on an Xbox store for like £3.50 in a sale, and it was just like, yeah, no way I'm not. It was after I'd played TXK, and I was like, there's no way I'm not getting this now. Yeah, and yeah, it is brilliant. I think I preferred it on the Vita though, and it might be my favourite Vita game, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I came in sort of thinking 8, but the more I spoke about it, the more I was like, yeah, no, it's really fucking good. And I want people to be able to understand that, you know, you might not be able to necessarily get it, but there are versions of it through Tempest 4000 that I would recommend as well.
Sweet. Right. It's on the spreadsheet.
Cool.
It's official. Whee! Right. Polybius.
Need some trumpets.
Polybius. How do I feel about this? I think this is probably about as close as you are going to get to VR Tempest.
Okay. Yes. Oh, wait. Yeah, it's VR enabled, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, full disclosure, I was playing it on Steam on a 2D screen. I do not have a VR headset. Not only that, but I was on my Steam Deck, so a small 2D screen. And I think it is possibly, hands down, the worst way I could have chosen to play this game. I think I really hamstrung it by doing it like that. So to go back to what you were saying about that kind of maximalist approach to particle effects and colour and sound and all that, I think what this experience of playing this game has taught me is how much, when I'm playing a shoot 'em up, how important feedback is.
Okay.
So like you were saying about, well, what just killed me?
Yeah.
Like, even just having an inkling, not even necessarily an accurate full answer, helps.
Yeah.
And you can learn from that. Whereas with this, far too many times did I realise that I was still trying to play the game when it was saying game over in the middle of the screen. And I couldn't even see the fact that it said game over. There was that much shit going on.
You can't make me stop.
But like, there was one time I was pretty tired when I was playing it, and I must have been sat there for like 10 seconds going, well, where's the ship got? Oh, fuck's sake. And it's so hard to keep track of what is going on with this game. So it's a Minter shoot 'em up rail shooter thing. Sometimes you're in a tube, sometimes you're on a sort of wavy shape, sometimes you're on the outside of a tube, sometimes it's very Tempesty. Once you start putting the pieces together, it's just a lot more fluid in the movement.
Okay.
And faster. Holy hell, does it get fast. Like, there were times where it felt almost more like a racing game, like Wipeout speeds of fast that it's throwing stuff around. And you've got,
maybe I'd really like this.
I think, genuinely, straight up, I think you would fucking love this game. And I consider what I'm about to say about it. I mean it well. But like, my God, like, there were times, I kid you not, I almost felt sick playing this game. Genuinely, I thought I was getting motion sick at one point.
What it's like in VR.
Like, I think it would make me hurl so fast in VR. But by the same token, it might be much easier to work out what's going on.
Okay.
Because I think if you've got that depth, and I don't know, how it would respond to your head movements and stuff like that, but I could imagine a world where the viewpoint isn't as fixed as it was in the 2D version, and it plays a hell of a lot better. Because what I was realising was that because it's going so fast, your eyes are instinctively trying to go for the furthest point on the we'll call it a track, on the track. rather than watching your ship, which is obviously where the stuff that is going to hit you is going to end up.
Yes.
Which means you have this vast gulf between the two that your eyes can't dart over quick enough and successfully pass what is about to hit you. And that is where all the enemies will come in and roll across you. Sometimes it's really hard to tell what's an enemy and what's not, or what is a destroyable piece of scenery and what's not. And it's all whipping at you so quickly because you get these gates that you can go through. Each time you go through one, you speed up a bit. You might occasionally get power-ups that will slow you down. You might get stuff involving your shields. There's a bunch of things going on. I can't tell you how to play this game because I never learned, right? Like, you get a little message at the start of the first level saying, like, do what comes naturally, and you basically have a shoot button and you can move. That's fine.
Is that it? Is that all it gives you?
As best as I can tell.
Yeah.
And, like, you'll get different messages, and some of them might, I guess, technically be objectives of a fashion popping up. There's one level in particular that's like ski slalom flags, which if you know your ski slalom flags, you'll work out which way to go. If you don't, you'll run into an invisible wall and lose a shield, and you will have no like feedback telling you why.
Yeah.
Or if you do, it's so buried in everything else that's going on. There were times when I felt it easiest to play by not steering. I wouldn't be trying to dodge anything. I would just hold down the fire button, go in a straight line, and just hope I picked the right line and be able to take out anything that was falling in front of me and carve my way through.
Yeah.
Which is no way to play a game.
It's so funny because it sounds like, because the reason I was asking is there any instruction in TXK, there's a very, I guess, meticulous instruction manual within the game in the options that was really useful. The only thing that I didn't understand was where I was getting shot from, but I knew that, you know, I knew what I was doing the whole time, which was just freaking out. But I knew what I should be doing, if that makes sense. Where it sounds like
I'm
it's
not
just coming at
sure.
you.
Yeah, like I get the impression it's quite mechanically simple, and the wow factor was the fact that you could play it in VR, and it was throwing all this stuff around, and you were, like you were saying, sat in a fireworks show. And you've got psychedelic cows being shot up for bonus points, and you know, these great little fun, quirky, Minteresque messages popping up as you're going and between levels and all that kind of stuff. And I can imagine that the sheer bloody-minded sensory overload of it all would be the fun bit if you're in VR and you can hack it. But as a sort of mechanically deep experience, personally, I'm not sure it's there. It might be, and I just didn't spot it. But I was mashing all the buttons and nothing was happening. But like I say, I was on Steam Deck. It might be that it wasn't all bound properly, or, you know, there is some kind of additional mechanic that I've missed. That is perfectly likely. But at the same time, if you're playing a shooting game, you've got to be able to pick up the basics in the game. Like it's, you know, self-evident.
But you're not the kind of person that would miss something, I don't think, necessarily. Like, as in,
I would hope not.
Not like, you know, on a regular basis. And I could just see. Do you know about the Polybius, sort of like the game that's, you know?
Well, I will be coming to that in the fullness of time.
That was what I didn't want to ask. Just fair enough, because that was it was almost a point that I was going to make. But if you're going to come to that, I would. Yeah. So
the only other thing that I wanted to say was that you have, like you were saying about the classic mode, that's there, which obviously if you've warmed up to it, it's fine. But like, these levels escalate quickly, so you know you'll have a handful of seconds to get back into the groove when you're going back into level 10 or to whatever. You've got a pure mode and a YOLO mode, and they're basically just variations on how often you get your shields replenished. And that's it. You just see how far you get. So yeah, the Polybius urban legend. We'll call it. This is where this review takes a hard turn.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, I would encourage anybody to go read the Wikipedia page about it, because that's quite interesting.
That's where I got my information too.
So it's that urban legend that there was a game out there in the early 80s that basically had, like, what was it they say, like on the Wikipedia page, psychoactive properties, and you know, could put people in trances and hypnotize them, or They were getting night terrors from playing it and all that kind of stuff. And there is a decent chance that Tempest was one of the games that were confused for this Polybius game. Now, I think if you go into it with that in mind and see this as a modern interpretation of what that game could have looked like, it clicks. And it clicks quite loudly. And I don't mean that it clicks to play it. I mean as an artwork, it clicks. Minter the auteur striking again, and suddenly when you start, for me at least, seeing it through that lens, I was less fussed about the fact that I wasn't making the kind of progress I hoped I would, or I was able to stomach playing it as much as I would have liked. I was able to experience it.
Yeah.
And I was able to get, just for a few moments, a couple of points, it can absolutely put you in a flow state. It can hypnotize you. You can, be drawn in by this sensory overload. And so, trying to come up with how the hell I was going to score this game, because scoring systems are stupid.
They are stupid, but at the same time, you can interpret it however you will.
But I almost want to give it two scores. One for as an artwork, an interactive.
Do it. Let's do that.
artwork.
That's fine.
One for a game, and they're going to be very different.
It's useful to people who are listening to this podcast either way, isn't it? Because you might want to experience it, but it might not be actually. You come out and go, the actual game itself was shit. So there's nothing wrong. I mean, we've done it for Lion King.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
a long time ago.
That is a good point.
So
yeah. So I think as a game, there's too much too much random shit on screen to cleanly pass what's going on and get that feedback to improve, work out what went wrong, regroup and go again.
Yeah.
There's too much of a disconnect between where you end up looking, where you should look, and I was getting taken out by stuff that I still don't know what. Yeah. Right. It could have been a bouncing ball. It could have been like a tiny bullet from something.
Sunday.
It could have been a wall. There's a lot of stuff that will frustrate. If you go in to try and play it as a sort of serious score chasing game, I think it would be a frustrating experience. But if you go in expecting a modern interpretation of what this Polybius myth could have looked like before the Men in Black scooped all the machines away and hid them in a bunker somewhere.
It's like Minter said he played it in Brighton in the 90s or something, didn't he?
Just all that kind of stuff. I just love the dedication to the bit.
Yeah.
And I think that, you're saying about TXK being on Vita and stuff like that, I get the impression that the guy has always been fascinated by the new and interesting quirky tech. And has found interesting ways to engage with it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's hardly a surprise that he threw himself in VR.
Yeah.
Got Llamasoft on it. So, I mean, yeah.
Now that you say that as well, it sounds like, and it makes, again, you can't necessarily say this is definitely the way or the truth, but doesn't make any sense for TXK to be so accessible and to make so much sense, apart from, obviously the occasion at the end you kind of be like, oh, this is quite a lot, but to make it, here's a very clear instruction manual, and then to drop back out of that and go, right, here's a freak out that you don't know what's going on kind of thing. It makes too much sense for that to actually, for him to be interpreting, Polybius as, this weird art form, and this is what it could have been, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not, that might not be true, but, now you've started saying that out loud, I'm like, and what you've spoken about from Minter, from the Llamasoft collection and things, it just feels like, surely that's what he's going for.
If you are, I think, the aim of the game, the aim of Minter's plan, to put that sentence more accurately, was to make you feel like you are in a 1981 video game.
Yeah.
And I can imagine if you're sat there with a VR headset with simple mechanics, no manual, both hallmarks of the arcade, lest we forget, I imagine that would have nailed the brief. few years removed from it, playing it on a tiny little 2D screen, I think is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And I think I've robbed myself of a much more interesting experience. And I think that was the overarching feeling I had playing this, was that kind of faint disappointment that I wasn't playing it the way that it feels like it was intended. So yeah, I would love to know if anybody is listening and has played this in VR. I would absolutely love to know how they found it, and if my kind of assessment is anywhere close to the mark. As it is, from what I played and how I played it, I think I've got to give it about a 4.
Yeah, okay.
If you're grading it as artwork, we're talking like a 7 or an 8 easily. I'm absolutely on board with, you know, the theory behind it. But at the same time, I feel like I'm doing more filling in of the gaps and the heavy lifting than perhaps I normally would. And I know I'm prone to doing this sort of thing anyway, but this is Jeff Minter, and I just can't help get the feeling that that is actually the case on this occasion.
There's too much evidence in his
there's too much stuff lines up nicely.
His back catalogue to say that.
Too many parallels and too many things make sense. And I mean, you go back to some of the stuff on like the Commodore 64 that he was putting out and stuff like that. You have exactly the same problem again. Like you just look at it and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And my favorite games are the ones of his, at least, are the ones that retain that over the top feel, that inherent quirkiness, but you can still work out what it is you're looking at. And so in that, you are going to have your sort of Tempests, your Llamatrons, things like that, that are just that little bit easier to work out what you're looking at. But yeah, as it is, I'm glad I tried it, but long term, it's not really for me.
Yeah, I think that it also, like I say, it depends on who you are as well. You know, as you intimated before, like I love a good high speed freak out. Like, you know,
like I think that I was genuinely thinking about you when I was playing it, being like, oh, you know what,
that idiot would love this.
I know who likes bright flashing colours.
That golden Labrador that I put in a podcast with, he'd fucking love this, wouldn't he? Oh man, well, you know, it takes both of us to have different opinions on things.
So, full disclosure, quickly, while I'm looking at the spreadsheet, I'm putting this down as the game score rather than the art score.
Okay,
but I think it'll make for an interesting discussion when we do the Christmas audit.
True. It just keeps on bringing back Shadow of Colossus in my mind. Like, it's almost when you were like, you should just didn't miss the point.
Yeah. But you know, view it through that lens, I guess, and like you find the right person, the right mindset, the right constitution for playing this, and I imagine that, you know, there are going to be plenty of people out there that love this, and I know that you know, it was 2018 when it came out, so it wasn't that long after the sort of Tempest stuff that you were touching on. So I guess for like relatively widely available VR, kind of relatively early days, I suppose. And I can imagine that so many people would have picked it up as a showpiece, and just for the sheer amount of stuff that is going on, and the speed and the explosions and all the particle effect, and oh man, I imagine that it's mind-blowing in VR, but I imagine it is doing a lot of the lifting of what makes it an engaging experience.
Yeah, which is fair enough. That is in, you know, I'm thinking about playing on the Quest, and I'd love to see more experiences like this. I'm sure they're out there. They're difficult to sift through to find, and that's why it was like easy to find Res Infinite, for example, because you're like, well, I know of Res.
I know that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've heard it's even better in VR, and it was. You know, it's just like so. Another example there where you take something and go, you know, immerse yourself in that world and put it around your head, and mind blowing. So, but it's cool because I think that I kind of, when we were looking up for this podcast, I sort of thought, oh, what's Minter working on right now? And it didn't seem like I think he's working on something this year actually, but they hadn't done any. His last credit was, for example, Llamasoft, the collection. I was a bit like, you know, and it's like I was like, I want him to continue making these unique, specific experiences.
Freaky-deaky
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's just they're just different, and they're just, you know, it is a different sort of world from playing, you know, your God of Wars and Red Dead Redemption 2s.
Oh,
and
the use of colour alone.
Yeah, just, exactly, you know, like, and see, just intentionally seeing a pixel, like, as in, like, looks like it could cut you. It's like, you know, like, that's great, you know, and long may it continue. So hopefully there's some more stuff, you know, around the bend, but, you know, around, yeah, so around the twist even. But cool, right? Well, thanks very much for listening, guys. Yeah, and we'll, you know, hopefully, not make Rich be sick on the carpet next time he plays a shooter, which is in a few weeks' time. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.